racism caused many problems for black people in the South during the Depression. Many blacks received unfair trials while others didn't even commit the crime they became guilty of. Many trials became famous and turned into stories and books because of the prejudice against blacks. Although Tom Robinson's trial didn't actually happen, it closely related to the trials that occurred. In the novel To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee shows how prejudice and racism affected black people. A perfect example of this, the Tom Robinson trial, demonstrates how unjustly a black can be tried by white Southerners back in the old days. Back in the old days, white men bought and sold black people like machines. They made colored people work on farms, and they had to do other demanding jobs just because of the color of their skin. White people thought that black people were worthless, when in reality, we're all equal. Another example of the novel To Kill a Mockingbird is when someone was behind the Radley house and all of the town believed it was a black person. Tom Robinson was blamed for raping Mayella Ewell because he was black, and Bob thought he could just blame Tom for beating Mayella, when in reality, Mayella kissed Tom, and her father, Bob, beat her for it just because it was a bad thing to tempt a black man. Tom wanted nothing to do with this, but he was later killed just because he was black and decided to help Mayella one night.
Prejudice was a part of everyday life for most characters in Macomb, and it was the case for most black Americans in the South in the 1930s. Yeah, 1930s. When characters used racist language like darky or nigger, they didn't find it offensive. They thought black people were inferior and they didn't deserve to be treated with respect, because that's how they were born and raised, and that's just how everyone felt about the blacks. For example, in the book To Kill a Mockingbird, some white men would use the black community's church to gamble on the weak. Like, if it was a white church, they wouldn't gamble in it. That just shows how they use the blacks for their church. I mean, I know there's laws against racism now, but believe it or not, racism is still alive and well. Although there are no more slaves, people still call people names and judge them by their race. Like, for example, at our school, this is my lunch 5A, you never see any Mexicans sit at a table with the whites. They're always together no matter what. Like, they'll even cut in front of you in the lunch line to be together. I personally feel like they do this because some kids like to beaner bash, which is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. This is when people will jump Mexicans because they think they don't have a green card, so they can't call the police because they're not a legal citizen. Like, that's not funny. Like, everyone deserves to be treated the same way. Treat others the way you want to be treated. That's the golden rule. Like, I learned that in kindergarten. I still remember it. Everyone else should. It just make everyone's life better. Some people may think it's funny to be racist and call people names, but it's not. Like, how would you feel if you were being mistreated just because of your skin color? For another example in the book was when Atticus calls racism Macomb's usual disease, and he says he doesn't want Gemini Scout to catch it. That shows how common racism is and how hard it would be to change what so many people have believed all their lives. Like, if someone told you everything you were ever taught was a lie, you wouldn't believe them, and you just think they were crazy. But back then, they were mistreating the blacks, and they were just being so racist, and it wasn't right. At least, racism isn't as bad as it was back then. Racism isn't as bad now as it was back then, but there's still going to be racism. It's never going to go away. Like, people are always going to think they're better than someone just because they're white. Like, it's just wrong, and whether you like it or not, it's going to be like that. So, we just need to get our points across and hope history never repeats itself. Like, the Holocaust, even that, I don't know if that's racism, but slaves and all that. Alright, well, this is a video of the trial, which pretty much proves Tom didn't rape Mayella, and then after that, Christian's gonna talk about it. Yeah.
Thank you. Now then, this time, will you please catch it with your left hand? I can't, sir. Why can't you? can't use my left hand at all. I got it caught in a cotton gin when I was 12 years old. All my muscles were tore loose.
That trial is representing how a black man is getting blamed for something he didn't do. The reason that you know he didn't do it is because he said that whenever he was young, his hand got stuck in a cotton gin, so he couldn't catch the cup with his left hand. And then she couldn't explain how he raped her. All she can say was that he did it and was calling everyone cowards for doing it when they all knew that he didn't. But in the end, they had to blame him because he was black, and it wouldn't be right to not blame a black man over a white person saying that. The reason that he got blamed so easily was because the white people in the community didn't think that it would be right to believe a black man over a white person. It's just not right because they're under them in the social class.
It kills me and Mr. L here.
Racism started in America all the way back during the American Revolution.
And even started the Civil War in America. The Reds supported slavery and racism. The Blue did not.
This goes to show that racism hurts people in real life, not just movies.
But racism isn't only in America. During the late 30s and early 40s, Adolf Hitler convinced Germany that the Jews made them lose World War I.
This caused millions of deaths and started the Second World War. So remember, next time you're about to be racist, you could start World War III.
It's a sin to kill a mockingbird. Harper Lee uses this quote to get her theme across, which is being prejudiced. To me, a mockingbird is a harmless bird that makes the world a better place. The mockingbird represents Tom Robinson and Boo Radley because they're both judged based on people's prejudiced opinions against them. Tom and Boo Radley never caused harm to anyone. That's why the mockingbird represents innocence and the innocence of Tom Robinson and Boo Radley, but racism ultimately ends up taking Tom's life and Bob Ools. Another quote from the story was when Atticus said, "All men are not created equal. One individual may be faster than another. Some people are more gifted than some other men, but in one area of this country that everyone should be equal in should be the court of law." And Tom was found guilty when there was plenty of evidence that said he did not commit the crime, but it was an all-white jury who saw him as black trash. Harper Lee also shows prejudice through her characterization of Boo Radley. The Radleys are shown to be different from everyone else because they like to keep to themselves. He is seen as being a bad man, and children just make up stories of him stabbing his father when he was younger, just because they like to keep to themselves and they're just different from everyone else. So people judge them and make stories up about them that aren't even true. They have no idea, and they just make it up and tell it and give everyone a bad name because they're prejudiced. Like, that's just another way Harper Lee shows us all the people in Macomb County is prejudiced against everyone that is not. Alright, like that one video how the little dude said, if you're going to be racist, you might just start the next World War III. I mean, yeah, we've had many wars that have started just because of people's prejudice against people of different races, and it's not right. Everyone's created equal no matter what skin color they are, and people should just learn that. Treat others the way you want to be treated. The golden rule. I learned that a long time ago, and everyone else should remember that because it's true. I mean, if you want to be treated nice, you want to treat everyone else nice, no matter what skin color they are, or race, or where they're from.